We about to bombard their whole operation. Certified priest, prophesying is my occupation. This shit outrageous. They done made this truth outside. That's why we on the corner crying aloud, looking hostile. I.S.U.P.K style. And stop now. This warfare couldn't last one round. Let the oppressed rise and let the rich mourn till the sundown. Enough with this shit, about to make it hot, call it compound. Just for my niggas, put the guns in the drugs down. Dwelling in peace till the Lord call for the blood. Hey, try to decide my death. Ain't got beside yourself. Swore draw for what you perform. How you gon' hide yourself? Devil got to die for his lies and it bitch. Ain't got no love for the practice. No, just cruel intentions. And then my father's house is spinning mansions. I got plenty bitch for the adventures. This your death sentence. I'm talking about slaughter, slaughter. That they do not run. Go ahead and feel the world with eyes. Ain't down for your skin. You gon' die for your crime. That's right. Talking to you. So mourn for your life. Your life. You gotta pay the price, nigga. You gotta hear, let them hear. Till the devils that they in this bill. Slaughter. Now they shook from vicious words out this hanging book. About to take these rappers back to school. My flow said it hook. They crossed the line, ain't no coming back. You became no counting things sweet. It's the honey check. Righteous is the Lord. Give me rest from my sorrow. And hang down death for them devils is no tomorrow. Why? Cause they violence leave a man a stiff corpse. You see a flag in the badge, I see horns in a pitchfork. So please believe it, the white man is a demon. And over them to freemen, they bid us to weep. They call the purple spiders knife till they broke like ceiling. You got this double D's. Fuck you mean? I'm talking. Slaughter. That they do not run. Go ahead and fill the world with lies. And now, skin, you gon' die for your crime. That's right, talking to you. So mourn for your life. Try to destroy my people. You gotta pay the price, nigga. You gotta hear, let them hear. Till the devils that they in this bill. Slaughter.
The police just shot him for no apparent reason. No reason at all. They asked for license and registration. That's the police officer over there that did it. With the black on. I can't really do shit because they got me handcuffed. I can't believe they just did this. I'm fucking
Slaughter. That they do not run. Go ahead and fill the world with lies. Ain't down for your skin. You gon' die for your crime. That's right, talking to you. So mourn for your life. Try to destroy my people. You gotta pay the price, nigga. You gotta hear, let them hear. Till the devils that they in this bill. Slaughter. All my niggas ride for me. I got niggas that'll die for me. You niggas ain't built like that. Talking like a thug when you gon' bust a slug, man. Niggas get killed like that. Acting like you bang for the set when you ain't blood or cuz, man. Blood'll get spilled like that. Niggas saying really they the plug, but they talking to the judge, man. Get your cap built like that. Cause niggas get killed like that. When you ain't built like that. You niggas ain't built like that. You was never dodging knock. You ain't never fought another crew holding down the park. You ain't swam with the sharks, you ain't wrestled with the gators. You was never fucking popping, you ain't got no fucking haters. Like you make me watch out for the traitors. When you around some real niggas, mind your behavior. I will beat a nigga ass, then I'm laughing like I'm Jada. Get your fucking mind blown like a cartridge on a Sega. You niggas want attention, they don't want the war though. Talking all that shit, but you got a glass jaw, ho. They never deliver. They got that DiGiorno, this that Walking Dead flow. I eat a rapper torso. You ain't the same man once you off the microphone. You ain't never broke a bone, you ain't never had a scar. You a certified pussy, so don't make me pull your car. I'm a certified prophet, respected like the word of God. Cause you ain't got the heart, nigga, you ain't got the heart. You ain't about to finish any beef that you start. You ain't never been a soldier, little nigga, play your part. Claiming that you spark when you ain't got the heart. Cause you niggas ain't built like that. Run around talking like a thug when you gon' bust a slug, man. Niggas get killed like that. Acting like you bang for the set when you ain't blood or cuz, man. Blood'll get spilled like that. Niggas saying really they the plug, but they talking to the judge, man. Get your cap built like that. Cause niggas get killed like that. When you ain't built like that. Run around talking like a thug when you gon' bust a slug, man. Niggas get killed like that. Acting like you bang for the set when you ain't blood or cuz, man. Blood'll get spilled like that. Niggas saying really they the plug, but they talking to the judge, man. Get your cap built like that. Cause niggas get killed like that. All my niggas ride for me. All my niggas ride with me. I got niggas that'll die for me. All my niggas ride with me. You niggas ain't. Whoa. Getting white, I'm a UPK nigga. Straight out of one West, no contest. We the best to the niggas that's living, trying to contend with the stress. Going through the test, no access. Cause you oppressed slaves. Niggas is dying off in waves. Living in dirt, now it's a grave. Niggas crosstalk through the crosstalk and the white chalk over the bodies of roads that you paid. Americans killing us, saying they fearing us. Put the drugs in the hood. Now my niggas delirious. Put a gun in my face. All because of my race. Quick boom flash. Put some skittles to murder my ass. Like a sheep to the slaughter. Heart beating harder and harder. Baptized with these words. Never dipping in water. So now we pray to the Father. Give strength to the Father that's looking for the water. This fucking taking our daughters, nigga. It's wartime. Lights up, nigga. Showtime. Got the green light on that ass. Yeah, go time. Either boot up, shut up, or get your ass up. Cause we ain't got time to be playing. It's all fucked up America. Heaven for the thief, hell for the slave. Reaping what you sow, meaning giving back what you gave. For a clean slate, you try to imitate. You was always fake. America, every city, state. This is your fate. Whoa, whoa, whoa. To America. 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 On the timeline, giving the rhythm to expose the intricacies of things. 5, doing mine, I ain't shit. But getting lit is a pastime, so in a minute, I'ma pass out. I hope you get it, if you didn't, you can crash fine. Kinda simple if you feel it, catch your last line. But it will confuse a bad mind, a damn shame. That's the exact thing on the jazz fry. Bombs from the sky, rich double lullaby, then a nigga fly. Hope you got got an alibi. Bombs from the sky, rich devil lullaby, devil missiles high. See him from the parking lot, never finna brawl out. Devils finna fall out, all our warfare, nightmares in the big house. They murdered us for years and thinking shit won't turn around. I never learned that this motherfucker burns down. Yeah, in the streets. Told them to preach, all of you angels bring woe to this beast. You rule for a time, but we play for keeps. I pray to my father, bring woe to this beast. Remember them times we hung on them trees. All of you nations bow down to your knees. Remember them ships, they brought us some fleets. Fuck the Apollo, bring them the heat. Whoa, 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 to America. Whoa, whoa, to America. Whoa, 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 to America. Whoa, 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 to America.
God is going to destroy this empire, man. You about to see famine in this place. You think them fires in California is bad? That's just the beginning of what the Lord is about to do. Because you've been evil to the Lord's people. You've been wicked to the Most High's children, man. You've been destructive to the 12 tribes of Israel. Let me tell you something, black man. You got to put on your strength now, man. Put back on your strength and might, black man, because your day is coming. Your day is coming because the Lord is going to bring judgment on this earth.
Crazy. That is good.
Who's that peeping through my window? 40 on me like I'm Winslow. Hit that nigga with that act right. I was fighting wars day and night. Who's that peeping through my window? 40 on me like I'm Winslow. Hit that nigga with that act right. I was fighting wars day and night. They keep it real with niggas, man. Most of y'all frauds. Leave like you frauds. Y'all pussy niggas gon' ride for your dog. Right at your man. Put the dagger right in his heart. I'm playing my part. Definitely I'm playing it smart. And if I don't get you, then I'm coming for your brother then. Or his mother then. It's kinda crazy when bed selling in. Raped, sold, and murdered the natives when they was selling in. Coming in out of the water that they was fishing in. I was raised in hell. It got dark when I was pedaling. White man harassing the block when we was pedaling. White man who also was the blood when we was pedaling. I would never fraud if I was on David Letterman. This is UPK, ain't no job of Shabazz. When the Christ come back, I'm gonna ride on your ass. Got the Johnny Walker in me, and I'm all in my bag. I'm on my Friday the 13th with the gun and the mask. Ah, who's that peeping through my window? 40 on me like I'm Winslow. Hit that nigga with that act right. I was fighting wars day and night. Who's that peeping through my window? 40 on me like I'm Winslow. Hit that nigga with that act right. I was fighting wars day and night.
Hey yo, the car and nacho, fucking doing crazy like you destined on the flock though. Righteous on the block though. The beat I catch a ride, but I always miss my stop though. Beefing with my shorty till I stuck it in the taco. Who's that creeping through my window? I ain't with the complications, I'ma keep it simple. Burn all black, 50 to the timbo. You gon' find exactly what you looking for in limbo. We gon' get it in though. Experience I live from 2036. I see my brother when it's been done. Every day I think about the trouble that I slid from. That's why I call the white man the devil, cause he is one. It's not a motherfucker, I think we should just forgive. That act right, gave a nigga reason to live. Give you extra if you take it back or you renege. See him creeping no Newport, I squeeze the cig.
Who's that peeping through my window? 40 on me like I'm Winslow. Hit that nigga with that act right. I was fighting wars day and night. Who's that peeping through my window? 40 on me like I'm Winslow. Hit that nigga with that act right. I was fighting wars day and night.
Where's the competition? I'm bored with it. Step it up or a board mission. I keep 2 boards with him. Don't feel like a Ford hitter. This piece I'm adored with it, but you can get gored with it. You don't want to war with him. This hammer, I'm Thor with it. You pray for my downfall, I just pray that the Lord with him. Taking every shot and I'm keeping the score with him. But this ain't a game. Ain't no back and forth with him. So quick, I'm just a kill. You can tell how that forfeit. If this ain't in him, that beef is takeout. That means it's a steak dinner. I grip the stick, nigga switch and make you switch gender. That stretch 5 is too much, I make you switch center. That pressure on you, call for God, you a chain sinner. A warlord, don't show no pain, just put that pain in her. A pillar in the shit, you know it ain't no change in her. It's legit if you see it and my name in it. It's U.P.K, nigga. Get it.
Use that creeping through my window. 40 on me like I'm Winslow. Hit that nigga with that act right. I was fighting wars day and night. Who's that creeping through my window? 40 on me like I'm Winslow. Hit that nigga with that act right. I was fighting wars day and night.
Let's go ahead and clap that up. In the middle of the screen there for most likely. Shalom. We're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Come out 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding GEN.YAHANNA. And since 1969, we've been teaching blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians our true identity according to the Bible, which is the 12 tribes of Israel, or the Lord's chosen people. And of course, that our oppressor is nothing more than the devil that the Bible speaks of.
Right.
And tonight is the Tuesday Brotherhood class. So we're going to be going over how it is that our nation could, truly profit by us all being like-minded, as a people.
Right.
Instead of there being so much division amongst, not only all the different Native Indian tribes, not only, different groups of Hispanics and blacks, you understand, but as a collective, as a whole, we're divided because we don't recognize not only who it is that we are as a people, but we don't even recognize who our own brothers are.
Right.
As well as, the false sense of brotherhood that we have with our oppressor, knowing damn well that he could give a damn about us. Kumpor, let me get 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10. And hold it for me for a minute while I share the class. If you could, but only if you could.
Like you said, 10 and 1, right?
1 and 10. 1 Corinthians 1 and 10. For those new to the class, we're reading out of the King James Version of the Bible. Go ahead and like the video, share it, tag every single Gadite or so-called Native Indian that you know into the video. What's up?
I like the scripture you
Hey, most high in Christ.
read it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're gonna learn something new every time, Kumpor. And one thing we're definitely going to be hitting heavy on today is
this false sense of brotherhood that it is that we have with our oppressor.
Right.
It's knowing damn well since he landed on these shores, he has never had any intention on having, any type of brotherhood with us, having any type of connection, showing any type of love towards us as a nation.
Right.
You know, saying that, that sense of brotherhood and love that it is as strictly coming from Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. It's not being reciprocated. All right, you got that one, Paul?
Come.
All right, go ahead. Let them know where you're at.
1 Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 10. Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord, Yahushua, that ye all speak the same thing.
That ye what?
Speak the same thing.
No, we're supposed to be having all types of different doctrines and beliefs as a nation.
Speak the same thing.
You understand? We're supposed to be speaking and believing in the same thing as a people. If you don't do that, it's going to cause some type of division amongst one another. And whenever there's always a division amongst, a certain group of people, there's always some type of hatred that develops for another, group, another nation. You understand? So, for instance, we got a lot of our people on the reservations, of course, inside the ghettos and in the barrios that love our oppressor. You know, saying that promotes the love, that we should be. It's like the Christian love that we should be giving these people, even after everything it is that they've done. And then you got, another small sect of people that believes in loving their own. You understand? Separation. You got ones that believe in, loving the Arabs because they follow Islam, or Asians. You understand? And all of these different heathen nations out here. And the crazy thing is, the littlest thing can spark our love for these people. You see, when COVID-19 kicked off, I mean, Yadites all over the res were up in arms defending Asians, you understand, giving their love to them because they were having just little misfortunate things happen to them. You understand, you can't ride in an Uber. You understand, being profiled. That's everyday things for our people. You understand, that's the type of false brotherhood and the type of love that we give to these nations, knowing damn well that they don't need it. It's like, you got something you want to ask them for?
I was saying, like, the stimulus check.
Speaking to them,
like with the stimulus check.
Mm-hmm.
Soon Donald Trump passed the stimulus check, everybody was having love again for the oppressor. We got everything he said about Mexicans and blacks, we got everything he said.
So not only that, they forgot all about him sitting there taking land in New Mexico, Arizona for his wall on the border.
Pipeline.
The pipelines. You understand, all of these different type of things that these devils do. We just need, just the smallest thing in order for us to forget it and forgive.
Right.
But yeah, we can't even sit there and forgive our own brothers.
Right.
We can't even show any type of love for them. You understand? We sit there and we forgive the oppressor for pumping all these drugs and alcohol into our communities, but yet when it comes for our people that are actually suffering from what it is that he has done, you understand, the alcoholics, the drug addicts, the drug dealers, the moonshiners, you understand, we want death for them. And we sit there and we search them out and destroy them. You understand? Put them in prisons. Do everything that we can to ruin their lives. And even though, of course, we're not supposed to be out here getting high, since the Lord is against us being drunkards, but at the same time, you can't sit there and love the people that push these things in your community and then hate the people that should really have no other choice but to fall on it.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
Let me get that from the top of the shot.
Okay. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10. Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Yahweh, that ye all speak the same thing.
So like I was saying, especially for those of us, it's like those of us in the world, it's important that we all stay on one accord, that we all say the same thing.
Right.
Especially when it comes to our people. You understand? For instance, let's take Dapple, for instance. You understand? The pipeline that was happening in Standing Rock a few years back. And we had a good bit of our people sitting there actually protesting, speaking out against it, saying how wrong it was, stating how it breaks treaties, how it is it's going to destroy our water, how it's going to, harm our crops, and eventually it's going to afflict future generations. And that's great. That's a great example of brotherhood right there. Caring about your people and the future generations of your nation. But then you have others that were sitting there saying, oh, well, it also brings benefits to our people, brings in revenue. Shoot, really, that's it. That's all we can really speak on about that, is that it brings in some type of income for our people, thinking that that's going to just get us up out of poverty.
Right.
With them sucking oil out of our land.
Right.
Meanwhile, our food's being poisoned, water is being poisoned.
Right.
Brother is turning against brother, sister against sister.
Right.
You understand? We're supposed to all be saying the same thing as a nation. And if it isn't profiting our nation for the better, we shouldn't be for it at all.
God.
But
money is not what we need. What we need is this brotherhood to come together as one body.
Not only do we need brotherhood in this truth,
right,
but we need to start following the Lord, keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments.
Right.
Because shoot, our people in the world can sit there and say all day, oh well, shit, I got brotherhood with, my people, my homies, but yet you can still be sitting there and selling drugs to your nation.
Right.
I mean, because a lot of our people don't view marijuana as being bad for the body. It's sitting there smoking it. Saying, really, due to us being raised in America and her disgusting, philosophies and ways of life being pushed on us for so long, I mean, we see the most harmful things as being normal. For instance, like homosexuality, and that's a big thing out on the reservations. Then, shoot, pedophilia is being pushed right now, and we already know people are going to sit there and say, oh, well, love is love. It don't matter the sex or the age.
Right.
Saying it don't matter if they're a beast or a human being. Then that can be your sense of brotherhood.
Right.
For instance, you had the LGBTQ community sitting there speaking out against the ICE facilities, not because of what they were doing to the Hispanics, but because they sat there and said they had brothers locked up in them facilities being treated like animals.
Right.
And when they're talking about their brothers, they're talking about homosexuals, lesbians, transgenders. You understand? All these people practicing this disgusting way of life.
Right.
And that's brotherhood to them.
Right.
And that's why we need these laws, statutes, and commandments as a nation, because otherwise, really, we're going to be doing the same things we do now.
Right. Right. Okay.
It's lacking.
And that there be no division among you.
Be no what?
No division among you.
Nah, it's dark skin versus light skin.
No division among you.
Nah, this nigga, he was born in a different hood than me. I can't mess with him.
No division among you.
Nah, I'm from a different indigenous tribe than them. I can't merge with them.
No divisions
among you.
Nah, I'm from Mexico and he's from Honduras. We don't click. Our people have never gotten along.
No division among you.
So there's not supposed to be any type of division between the 12 tribes of Israel. It doesn't matter what it is that we call ourselves. If you're Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, you're supposed to have some type of unity with your brothers. You understand? We'll sit here all day and make excuses as to why it is we can't join the Hispanics, why we can't join the Blacks or Native Indians. So we'll pull up every excuse in the book, but yet at the same time, we'll sit there and justify why it is that white people are our brothers. We'll justify their crimes that they've committed against us. Understand? And at the same time, we'll demonize what it was that our brothers had done to us in the past, knowing damn well that our brothers had only done it because they were manipulated by our oppressor.
Right.
So we got to get out of this slave mentality as a nation, because that's when we were divided the most, is when we were slaves. So, especially in the book Black Indians, so I don't have it in my notes right now, but I'll pull it next class. But there's a perfect example of how it was that our oppressors sat there and divided natives from Blacks, or so-called African Americans. How they divided natives from Hispanics. How it was that they try to make it seem like our cultures and beliefs were different, even though they were quite similar. You understand? And of course, how they sat there and did what they've always done, which was make a play on, this native being half Native Indian, half Black, half Native, half white, and saying all that other nonsense. Our oppressors always done these different, underhanded and manipulative things in order to separate us as a nation.
Right.
So we got to stop giving into that as a people, especially today. We should already know all of the tricks in our oppressors. I'm saying it's like all the tricks that's up our oppressor's sleeve. So we should know all of these things, because really he's used every single one of them on us as a people when he first arrived in these lands. So when Columbus first arrived on these shores, and other Spaniard conquistadors, really, what they would call explorers, along with the English, saying the French, the Russians, the Germans, saying the Portuguese, the Swedish, all these different European nations that have come over here to conquer us as a nation, every single one of them has used their own little trick to divide us as a nation.
All right.
We say, but we got to learn to stand strong as a people.
Right.
Yeah, finish that for me, so our people can realize what happens if we come together as a nation. You understand? If we all say the same thing, saying we're all like-minded as a people. Go ahead.
Come. But that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment.
Nah, we got to all be open-minded about all things.
In the same mind and in the same judgment.
You understand? For those of you who don't know, perfect is the best that things could possibly get. You understand? So we got to be, it's like, so us sitting there joining, having the same mindset, you know what I'm saying, and just having the same ideals, the same, what am I looking for here? You understand, having the same morality, the same beliefs, you understand, that will help make us perfect as a nation.
Right.
And so it's going to make things the best it possibly could for us as a people. And the only way for us to truly have that one mindset and to have that same judgment is to come into the I.S.U.P.K. under
Right.
Commanding GEN.YAHANNA.
Right. And there's no other organization, no school, no God out here that is going to promote unity and the same type of beliefs amongst a certain nation of people, like the I.S.U.P.K, like the, you know what I'm saying, the God of Israel in the Bible.
Right.
You had something on that, Kumpar?
I was just gonna say that's that Christian church philosophy.
Microphone.
Oh, it's like that's that Christian church philosophy. You know, to serve the Lord in your own way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's not how we do it in Israel. The I.S.U.P.K. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's all I wanted to bring out.
That's a perfect example. You know what I'm saying? Because it pertains to all the 12 tribes of Israel.
Right.
Even if we aren't sitting there following, you know, Christianity per se, it's the same thing for all these different beliefs. Whether it's Islam, whether we're trying to be spiritual or follow, you know, it's like what we say is the way of our ancestors.
Right.
It's all the same. It's all Christian beliefs.
Right.
You understand? Doctrines. Something that is going to ultimately destroy our people.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, all of it is, you know, truly white supremacy.
Right.
You understand? Of loving our oppressor.
Right.
Sure, and if we aren't loving our oppressor, we're loving some other nation.
Right. Hamites, like
Yeah, of course. You understand? Whatever, chemisology, you understand, Egyptology.
Right.
That's damn near like African supremacy.
Right.
Causing for us to love our oppressor more than one of our oppressors more than we do our own. Go ahead.
Oh, like that's heavy because soon these artists out here they get some money, and they go feed the next nation.
Right.
They go help the nation, another whole other nation. They don't help the hood, the ghettos. You know what I'm saying? They go all the way to Africa and help a whole nother nation.
Right.
That's crazy.
No, shoot, that's crazy that you brought that up. I know for the Navajo Nation, you understand, I forget what the time period was. It was when, Ireland was having like a potato famine. Whatever.
Right.
One of their famines that they was having, you know what I'm saying, due to the Lord punishing them for their crimes against Native Indians, against blacks, and against Hispanics. You know what I'm saying? Our tribe sat there and sent, what back then would have been a hefty sum of money that could have really helped out our impoverished people. But instead, we sent it to some disgusting European, some devil across the ocean in order for them to eat, in order for them to survive. But yeah, I ain't seen no money being sent to Haiti.
Right.
Since our brothers out there having to eat mud pies.
Right.
So I ain't seen none of the wealth being sent to South America.
Right.
To help our Hispanic brothers. You notice it's always to help out our oppressor.
Damn right.
Or some other heathen nation.
Right.
And
right.
That just goes to show you how truly destroyed we are as a people. Because there ain't no other nation out here going to sit there and fund those that have really committed acts of terrorism upon their people.
Right.
Arabs ain't going to sit there and fund, America.
Right.
You understand? Same for the Africans, the Arab. It's like I already said, Arabs, the East Indians, the Asians. You see, that's why all this, conflict is going on. It's because they sit there and they recognize that crimes have been committed against their people, and they have some sense of brotherhood amongst themselves, which is the love for their own people. Of course, whatever their love is, it's not that perfect love that blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians should have. You understand? Whatever it is their heathen beliefs are as a nation. You understand? But they still, should they cling to all of them crimes that have been committed against them, and they keep that in their records for them to visit it in the future. You got something you want to add?
Oh no, I was gonna say I found a great family. It was in 1845.
1845 to 18.
Use your mic.
Oh, Salaki. It was an island from 1845 to 1849.
See,
Con.
Con,
The Great Famine of the one.
Con. I don't know if it was the Great Famine or
A total deaths of 1 million.
I think that was it.
Con.
Let me look real quick.
And also, you don't see no commercials of the one, you know, of blacks, Spanish and Indians, homeless and poor. You know, you always see the African countries.
Right.
Send your money, send your funds in. You know what I'm saying? Man,
And shoot, the sad thing is our people actually send in their funds.
Right.
We're already impoverished enough.
Right.
And then, shoot, we go out of our way. It wasn't a potato famine.
Okay.
God, shoot, and then the bad thing is, shoot, that was 170 years ago that we sent them money, and then with COVID-19 hitting, they sit there and they send us, a little bit of money, not even worth what it was back then, and we view that as a sense of brotherhood.
Right.
Our people are up in arms. Oh, the Irish have always been our brothers. My dad is Native Indian. My mom is Irish. My dad is Irish. My mom's Native Indians. We've always had ties as a people.
Right.
You understand? That is just so goddamn idiotic.
Right.
To think that just by them doing that we got some sense of brotherhood.
Right.
So now I'm guessing with them sitting there giving us the reservations, that was brotherhood from the United States, huh? Them sitting there stealing our land, forcing us to march miles upon miles upon miles, smashing our babies' heads and leaving our sick and wounded, leaving our elderly and our young behind. That was a sense of brotherhood, huh? We're just destroyed as a nation. And the only way for us to come up and to truly no longer be in the state that we're in and that we've been in, I mean, I.S.U.P.K is the only solution for our nation.
Right.
Go ahead and go to Psalms 55 and 20.
Come on.
So we definitely got to get that false sense of brotherhood, or, unity with these heathen nations up off of us. Because I went out to the Navajo Nation. Not only did I see devils setting up shops and, of course, having relationships with our people, but you got Arabs out there that are running like an antique Gadite like stores, selling merchandise for top dollar.
Right.
You understand? You got all of these different heathens out there that are making profit off of our nation, and we view that as brotherhood. You understand?
Right.
Our love for them is so deep that we'll allow for them to come in and set up shop in our impoverished nations, make a pretty penny, and not even contribute to our people.
Right.
Go ahead.
Especially the Chinese. They got the Chinese hood stores. They got all the fitteds, all the good clothes, everything. You know what I'm saying? Especially the Chinese.
Oh yeah, shoot. They're heavy on the like the border towns on the reservations.
Right.
You understand? Because that's where really Gadites got to go for everything, because our nations are so impoverished, so destroyed and run down that really we don't have anything. You understand? We got maybe like a supermarket, which I believe is called Bash's, which is ran by East Indians.
Go
ahead.
And the fall of us is the richest to the world. That one scripture, other one, you know what I'm saying? What is it? The fall of us? I can find it. Well, get it later if you want it.
Yeah.
Come.
I feel like I know which one you're talking about. Actually, I know which one you're talking about.
Come.
I can't pull off the top of my dome though.
Understand? But yeah, I mean, shoot, like we got nothing as a nation, but yeah, we still seem to give something to these different heathens, especially our oppressor. You got Psalms 55 and 20? Go ahead.
He, Psalms chapter 55, verse 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him.
He what?
He hath put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him.
So, who's that sound like to you, Queen?
The oppressor.
You damn right. Yes, and that is exactly our oppressor. You understand? When our oppressor first came to these lands, Native Indians and Hispanics and to sit there and seek war with them. So we sat there and we gave them goods, made sure they ate, gave them water, gave them knowledge of the land if they needed it in order to travel.
Right.
You understand? We did all these things to make sure that they thrived and survived in a land that they didn't know. And the same thing for Hispanics. You understand? Our Hispanic brothers did the same thing because at the end of the day, we're hospitable people. You understand? We're about that warfare, but we're hospitable. You understand? And of course, our oppressor, he took advantage of those things. And for all the different peaceful tribes, you understand, and the peaceful different nations in South America, our oppressor sat there and he looked to wage war against us as a nation. And there's a reason that it was that so many of us suffered such horrendous crimes at the hands of our oppressor.
Right.
So it's not just because that was the time and that's just how they did things. He said that's the nature of our oppressor. Just like you can go into the Middle East and look at all the bombings he's doing. Look at all the children that he's mauling and murdering, all the elderly,
right,
all the families that he split apart. And we already know that for the countries in the Middle East, a majority of them, they all started out as being allies or being, having some type of agreement with the United States. And next thing you know, there's an air raid out of nowhere. And there's a whole city blown to smithereens, body parts everywhere. You understand? Just like his spirit back then, he still has that same spirit.
Damn right.
Really, if anything, to these heathen nations, that spirit ain't as ferocious as it was towards the children of Israel.
Right.
Because the Arabs didn't sit there and teach our oppressor how to live, how to survive out in the Middle East. But yeah, we did that for him, and he was ripping us apart with dogs.
Right.
So he would tie two ends of us, really more than that, to a horse and have them run in different directions. And saying he'd bury our children neck deep and sit there and see who could kick their heads the furthest. Cut open the wombs of our women, do just all types of vile things to our nation. That just goes to show you not only the hatred that these people have for us, but the spirit that they're always going to have as a people, no matter what the time period is.
Right, right.
Go ahead.
Come on. He has broken his covenant.
So he broken his, his agreements, his treaties that he's made.
Right.
Which our people, definitely know firsthand that our oppressor is never going to keep any type of treaty that he signs with not only us but any nation of people.
Right.
saying he's been sitting there making treaties with us since, really since he arrived on these shores. Saying first with Columbus sitting there claiming to, come in peace, coming to bring prosperity to our nation in order for us to thrive and to get unknown riches that we've never seen before, and all this other hoopla and nonsense.
Right.
And then just sit there and turn his back on what he said and slaughter our people.
Right, right.
Which, with most of the different slaughters that have happened during the American Indian Wars, a lot of it was just broken treaties. And the U.S. Army sitting there making some type of excuse to slaughter Native men, women, and children, elderly, and break apart families. And not only that, but the same thing goes for Hispanics.
Wow.
And really, the same thing goes for blacks, because when an official sits there and makes a decree to the people saying they're going to do this and that for you,
right,
and then not follow through with it, I mean that's breaking, like, it's breaking your word.
Right, right.
Or it's like, for instance, your covenant.
Right, right.
Because you sat there and you made a promise to a people, and you had no intention at all of keeping it or following through with it.
Okay.
You saying, and the crazy thing is that we've had hundreds of treaties broken by these devils, and yet, even after all of that and all of the slaughter that came behind them broken treaties, we still hold our oppressor's word as being so high and mighty, as if what he says is final and is law. Yes, and our oppressor's always going to turn his back on his word, no matter who it is that we are as a nation. See, that's where so many of us learned how to, turn on what it is that we've promised to our people.
Right.
And promising better lives. And yet we sit there and we give all this different money to our oppressor, give all these resources, all these different things. So them brothers and sisters that donated all that money, what was it, 170, 160 years ago to the Irish?
Right.
That were all about, prospering our nation, our communities, and then went and did that. You understand? We learned all of that from our oppressor.
Right.
Go ahead.
Come.
Actually, you still in verse 20? Was that the end of 20?
No.
All right, go ahead.
It's on. It's finished already. You want 21?
Reread 20 for me.
Come. Psalms chapter 55, verse 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He has broken his covenant.
So like we brought up before, how these other nations know to not sit there and join to those that have afflicted their nation. So you don't have Arabs that have been afflicted by our oppressor. They aren't sitting there joining to, America. Same thing for Africans and East Indians, Asians, all these different nations, because they got some type of loyalty for their people, some type of love that they know better than to not only sully the reputation, but as well as to dishonor their ancestors. Which, shoot, I mean, us as a nation, when I say us as a nation, the nation of Israel, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we have the highest, degree of honoring ancestors, or at least we like to make it seem that way. because we've been so accustomed to the ways of America that shoot, that honor really means nothing. Truly, our ancestors mean nothing to us because shoot, we sit there, we make marriages with the children and great grandchildren, great great grandchildren of those that slaughtered and raped us, that tortured us, that did such horrific things to us as a nation that we haven't been able to bounce back to this day. And you don't sit there and see the Jewish man who sits there and claims to have the hardest life on the face of this earth, all because he went through a couple years of World War II and the POW camps, the concentration camps. You don't see him sitting there and joining to the Germans. So until this day, they're hunting Nazi war criminals and putting them to death. They're like 100 and something years old, need breathing machines and to be rolled around in wheelchairs by nurses. And yet the Jewish man, he's still seeking that justice for his people. But yet the nation of Israel, it's all forgive and forget.
Right.
You get something that I come for? No sweat. No sweat.
No, that was heavy on one.
And most high in Christ.
Oh, so like, I got it.
Go ahead.
Oh, so like, we the only nation that cling to each other nation. We the only nation.
Right.
African stay with the African, Chinese with the Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
We the only nation.
Shoot.
Okay.
Only nation. Yes, and even these East Indians,
right,
that have been, raised in the islands, that sit there and claim to be from the islands, claim to be Jamaican, and Dominican and Haitian because they were born there and their parents were born there, even though their ancestors came on a boat from East India. They still don't cling to our brothers out there.
Right.
And they sit there and they reap the benefits of our brothers out there, the income, right. and they'll sit there and do all types of wickedness, even though they grew up supposedly hand in hand with them.
Right.
And the same thing goes for these devils out in the reservations and, of course, in the ghettos who have lived beside, the savages and the niggas their whole life. And sit there and claim to have been treated as one of them, but yet they don't cling to us like that. And they don't sit there and show their love and give their support to us like that.
Right.
And these people are just here to infiltrate us as a nation.
Right.
Which that's all they were for in the past. We brought out a few classes ago, and the book, I believe it was. I think it was Native American Wars or something like that. I had to go look at it. But there we brought out a few examples of how it was that these devils ended up living amongst our communities for years, developing some type of friendship, having families, and yet they would sit there and still lead conquistadors and English settlers and the French and the Germans, Portuguese, the Swedes, all these different Europeans. They would sit there and still lead them to conquer the different native tribes.
Right.
I mean, that just goes to show you that we can never have any type of brotherhood or really unity with these people. Because if you can sit there and truly live excluded from your nation amongst these people that are foreign to you, and you develop some type of a unity with them, and you earn their respect and their love, but as soon as the first boat sails over and they just ask you, not even threaten, not even offer you some type of reward for your services, but they just ask you if you can sit there and get them in good with native people so that they can claim land for their nation.
Right.
And you do it without hesitation. That just goes to show that there can never be any type of love, right. Any type of unity amongst our nation.
Right. So like,
Go ahead.
That's like that one video with the brother out there in somewhere in Indianapolis, where he was on July 4th. He was out there celebrating July 4th with oppressors, and they was gonna lynch him. And the white friend he went with didn't do nothing to stop it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
You know
about.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, that wasn't in Indy, but it was in Indiana.
Indiana, Colorado. You know what I'm saying? You can never trust the enemy.
Right.
Never. They love you until they own. You know what I'm saying? Until they own.
Right.
They love you until they're going against their own.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And saying the funny thing is in the video, yeah, it looks like them devils is putting up some type of resistance, saying you can't do this. What are you doing? This is wrong. But yet they never stepped in to stop it.
Right.
You understand? You had them other devils trying to do it, just saying back up, get out of my face.
Right.
You're saying you don't know what it is that you're doing. Understand? And yet I guarantee you that same brother is still kicking it with them white folks that did not stand up and fight for him.
Right.
You understand? That brother could have been dead because they did not step up.
Right.
The only reason that it didn't happen was because it was being filmed.
Right. Damn right.
You understand? And we need to realize that these things ain't being filmed because they want to get the word out there. That they want to let it know what's being done to our people. That's something for them to look on later in their days.
Right.
You see, they'll be like, yeah, I was there when that nigga got lynched.
Right.
Yeah, I was there when he was shot. You understand? When she was beaten and slammed on the pavement, having brain damage.
Right.
You understand? I was there. Yeah, that's all that's for.
Right.
Just like that devil, who was that? Mark Zimmerman, who's signing Skittle packets and Confederate flags.
Damn.
And sold his pistol that he killed Tamir Rice with for thousands of dollars.
Damn.
You understand? That's all of that is to him. That's just some way for them to not only get a type of pleasure and remembrance out of what it was that they were doing to us, but as well as bragging rights.
Right.
You understand? Well, let me get the rest of that scripture. Verse 21. 21.
Oh, 21. Come. Verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
Yes, shoot. We should already know that as a people. We should already know how smooth it is that our oppressor be speaking to us as a nation.
Right.
And saying when he first arrived on the shores of America, as we call it, he claimed to be here for peace.
Right.
And he sat there and he said, yeah, I want to make sure that your nation is wealthier and more powerful than these other tribes dwelling around you. I want to make sure that you are stronger than your enemies that you've been, having little conflicts with, nothing even major, nothing worth causing a genocide or war over. I want to make sure that you are stronger and more powerful than them so that you can come up above them.
Right.
You're saying you have a unity between our two nations, shoot, hey, that can be accomplished.
Right.
And he's been using them smooth words till this day. You said, for instance, it's like we can look at what it was that Trump had did. Saying with this, task force to retrieve missing Native sisters or indigenous sisters, however it is you want to put it. And he made it a whole big thing, letting us know that these sisters are going to be retrieved and that these problems of sex trafficking and abuse are going to stop for us after so long. But just like back then, how his ancestors said them same words of peace and prosperity and unity, and then sat there and raged war, saying genocide, biological warfare, war crimes, all these different things against our nation. I mean, what do you think? What do you think this task force is going to do for our people, really? And we can't trust the same people that have been taking our sisters and selling them into sex trafficking. And saying have been, harvesting their bodies for, organs and whatever else it is that they want to take. We can't trust them to sit there and rescue them from what it was that they put them through. That just don't make any goddamn sense.
Right.
That's like, should we do it? But that's like trusting the, police not to murder you when they're out here murdering you.
Right.
You understand? And the same thing goes for all these devils. You understand? Because at the end of the day, all of these devils want nothing more than to kill us and to destroy us as a nation. No matter how much we sit there, it's like, how much they sit there and not only fool themselves and fool us and put on this charade. No matter how much they do that, I mean, that's just their true spirit at the end of the day. Is to murder us and to destroy us as a nation.
Right.
And it's going to remain that way until Christ returns, which was it is a black man. Understand? His real name is Yahawashai.
Go, come.
It's like,
Finish that scripture.
read it from the top for me.
Come. Verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
So just like Trump sat there and created a task force to retrieve these missing sisters, knowing damn well that the U.S. government has some type of hand in ensuring that these sisters stay missing and that they get abducted. But the same thing goes for what has happened more recently with half of Oklahoma being declared native land. You understand? Being divided up into different reservations.
Right.
So we're about to actually get into that. Go ahead and read more on that for me. Go with the show.
Come. But war was in his heart.
And so just like Trump sat there, declared that there's going to be no more sisters missing, no more children being taken out of the reservations. Just like he declared these sisters are going to be returned home, and that the children are going to be returned home, and that all of this sex trafficking is going to be stopped and is never going to happen again.
Right.
I mean, read that for me.
But war was in his heart.
And so just like he says that, at the same time, he's sitting there, he's telling that task force, hey, any of these sisters that you sit there and retrieve, that you've discovered, you sell them back into sex trafficking. You know what I'm saying? You charge a higher price. You make sure we can get, more bang for our buck for these animals.
Right.
Then, I mean, we got to realize as a nation, no matter what promise it is that is made to us as a people, there's always some other ulterior motive that is going to profit our oppressor. And that's that war that is in his heart. Just like he sat there and declared half of, Oklahoma being Indian land, belonging to reservations. I mean, we're not going to be able to sustain that land.
All right.
He's saying America is not going to sit there and provide proper funding in order for us to sustain that land. And in doing so, he's going to come up with some crafty, underhanded scheme to make the different tribes in that area in debt to him. He's saying he's going to do, some in order for him to gain some type of power over us as a nation.
Right.
So first we thought things were getting better and we were coming up in the world. And then things declined in that land. And now we're indebted to our oppressor more than we ever could have imagined.
Yeah.
And not only are we indebted to him, but our oppressor is going to sit there and put the worst of his people in that land.
Right.
He's going to make sure that they buy up property and get some type of housing so that they can sit there and destroy the native Indian communities even more.
Right.
And the same thing goes for the ghettos and barrios with different gentrifications.
Right.
So it's not the best of the best that's moving into the ghettos, spreading the community wealth around in order for our people to come up and have better lives. You understand? If it's those type of people, our people are being completely kicked off of that block and out of the neighborhoods in order for these devils to have better communities. But for the most part, it's the drug dealers that is moving in.
Right.
It's the pedophiles, the rapists, it's the homosexuals, the murderers, the thieves, and the liars, and the list goes on. That's the type of people that is living, it's like moving and living inside of our communities. So we just got to realize as a people, no matter how godly it is that we make our oppressors seem, and how strong we are in that white supremacy known as Christianity or spirituality. I mean, our oppressor is nothing more than an animal.
Right.
It's a rabid beast. It's like, you had something with that for?
Right. Yeah, I forgot.
All right, no sweat. Read that for me one more time. All right, one more point to go over.
Verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
Go ahead.
But war was in his heart.
So one of the bigger things that's plaguing our communities, is this Planned Parenthood out here.
Right.
Even the Gadites in the reservations are still plagued by this. You understand? Because shoot, we got to go to these border towns for everything, and in every single one of them, shoot, you got a Planned Parenthood. You understand? And our president sits there and claims that, these are to better your people, to ensure that you can have better lives. Because shoot, if you're poor out here, you can't raise a child. You see, that child is going to suffer. They're going to grow up in worse conditions than you did, than your grandparents did.
Right.
And then your great grandparents did. So you gotta do what you gotta do in order to better yourself and your family. But in the meantime, in reality, the only thing he's doing is putting them there so he can commit, a genocide.
Right.
To ensure that our future generations are not born, and for our nation to just go extinct, to just vanish off the face of this earth. When shoot, if we weren't the Lord's chosen people, that would have happened to us. That's something we gotta realize, is that because we're the Lord's chosen people, we can't just be wiped off the face of this earth.
Right.
Like nations have before us. You know, saying nations have been stricken with sicknesses, just like we were when Columbus first arrived on these shores, and they've been completely wiped out. Not even a trace left of them. You understand? The same thing goes for these wars that we've had to rage against America in order to make sure our people survive. Nations have been wiped out over that. But yet, because we're the Lord's chosen people, He's made it so that we cannot just simply be wiped out by a plague and by some type of armed conflict. We're here until the end of days. And we got to realize that as a people. So, the sooner we realize that, it's the sooner we're gonna stop sitting here and committing abortions.
Right.
Stop murdering one another, you know, in the reservations and in the ghettos and barrios. Stop doing all these different type of things that cut our numbers down. Because shoot, at the end of the day, I mean, shoot, we're here to stay.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
I mean, there's a reason that we're the main ones out here, you know, doing all of these abortions and cutting down our numbers. But meanwhile, all these different heathens, you don't have the white man promoting abortions in African communities.
Right.
He's not doing it in, shoot, especially not in the Jewish man's communities or in Asians' communities. That's just not a thing. That's not something that is happening, but it is strictly only happening to Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, and we take that as if it's some type of blessing.
Right.
Go ahead.
Come. His words were softer than oil.
That's shoot. We already know our oppressor is real slick with his words.
Right.
And just like we read before, he was smooth with them. He's also slick with them.
Right.
He knows how to sit there and word things to not give away his true
Intention.
his true intentions on what it is that he has planned out.
Right.
So just like whenever he first arrived over here, he sat there and said he was here for peace, in order to, you know, provide prosperity to our nation, to strengthen us. You know, but yet at the same time, he sat there and said, "Oh, you mean these couple of heavily armed, you know, it's like these hundreds of heavily armed soldiers behind me? Oh, nah, they're just transports. They don't have, you know, they don't have any true training. They're not really, you know, they can't really do anything. You know, they're just here." And then when these people get into our cities, into our communities, then these highly trained soldiers sit there and do what they do best, which is to cause mayhem, to murder, and to rape, just cause destruction all across the board. You understand? And the same thing is going on today.
Right.
You understand? We don't sit there and believe different police forces, especially this task force, we don't believe that you know, that they're going to come against us as a nation, that they're going to be really serving the intentions of America. But at the end of the day, they're always going to serve their country, you understand, their nation. It's like, go ahead, Queen Court.
Oh, so like I would say the same thing with civil rights.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Soon that, you know, they passed that law, you know, they guarantee equal protection, you know what I'm saying, no matter the race, religion.
Right.
And then, you know, they flood our neighborhood with dope. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Damn right.
Come give us the right to vote, and then getting slaughtered in these streets. Like, what are we voting for? You know, getting slaughtered in these streets. And right to a fair trial.
Right.
You know, we don't get fair trials.
Right. Not one bit, and we never have.
Right.
You understand? And that's crazy that you brought that up, because so many of us really believe in and depend on the words of these different politicians.
Right.
Whether it's a politician of America or some type of public figure of America, or it's a politician or public figure inside the reservations.
Right.
Like, we just hold their word to such a high degree, not even really thinking that they would sit there and turn their backs on us.
Right.
And to really serve the interests of those that oppress us. Go ahead.
Come. Yet were they drawn swords.
So just like we brought out, how our oppressor is real smooth with his words. He's real slick with what it is that he says, how it is that he's worded things, which is what he's always done. He's sitting there telling us he's here for peace and prosperity, to strengthen us, and at the same time, that his armed soldiers ain't for nothing but his own protection. And then once we let our guard down, there's a great slaughter. And the same thing is, we should really, realize or recognize that what's going on with this, task force with recovering these sisters. That's really just a smokescreen. And so he's creating a militant force that can come into native land to supposedly retrieve sisters at any cost, and we don't view that as any type of problem. And really, that's in all things, especially, even with, all the different treaties that it was that our oppressor has made with us as a nation, how our oppressor can just move in, use some type of wordplay on us as to why it is that he didn't, break our treaty, or why it is that it's okay for what it is that he's doing, and then, we just continue to go along with it.
Right.
You understand? That just goes to show you how good our oppressor is with his wordplay, with how it is that he says things. Especially, I shouldn't even say especially with these politicians.
Right.
Because Joe Biden sat there and said, if you don't vote for him, you ain't black.
Right.
Shoot. Then again, that was some pretty slick wordplay, because our people, shoot, we don't want to not be black.
Right.
We don't want to seem like the only ones that are coming against the betterment of the nation. That's when it comes to these politicians, and that's it. That's it on that, right?
Okay.
Let me get Matthew 5:41.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
What's that, 5:21?
Okay. All right, wait. 41, 31, I think it was 41.
Let me look. What's that, 41? So like,
Okay.
let me get. Give me 1 second, select.
Okay.
Because this will probably be our last scripture, so I want to make sure I get the better of the two. Yeah, we can get both of them. Yeah, go ahead and read that for me.
Okay. Matthew chapter 5, verse 41. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile.
And so if a brother sits there and convinces you to go a mile, or whatever type of distance it is that he compels you to go,
Right.
go ahead.
Go with him twain.
So go with that brother twain. And so in other words, go twice the distance it is that you originally, had planned on, or thought that it was that you were in for. Especially just for one of the examples, I'm gonna use just everyday things in the world. So, for instance, you go somewhere with a brother or a sister. They're saying that they're getting on your nerves. Saying don't just sit there and ditch them. Saying leave them, which really that's what a lot of us do whenever we get fed up with what somebody is doing. So we just say, "Oh, the hell with this! I'm leaving you. I'm gonna go back and do my own thing."
Right.
Understand? But not only is it just traveling, but it's also it's in all things that you do. Hey, check on cameras for me, before.
Okay.
It's in all things that you do. So, for instance, with the Standing Rock protest with the Dapple pipeline that was going on a few years ago, and for those of us that were convinced to sit there and fight for our people, to fight to ensure that we had clean drinking water, to ensure that our lands weren't polluted, and that future generations wouldn't have to suffer from this pipeline. You say, really, we were supposed to go, a lot longer than we were supposed to. So we were supposed to go twice as long as what we had originally planned.
Right.
So, but for a lot of us, once that winter hit, for those of us that weren't seasoned, we dropped what it was that we stood on, and we went back to, getting high and sleeping with whores and to hate our brothers. Shoot, even to hate those that we once stood with in them frigid waters, fighting for our people.
Right.
You understand? We're supposed to be standing on, I want to say, a type of integrity far longer than it is that we expected to, twice as long than we expected to. So a lot of us, we thought it would just be a couple months out there. You know what I'm saying? We thought it'd be over before the winter hit, and before it really got cold. We thought we'd have some type of following. But that ended up being such a long and just excruciating endeavor that so many of us dropped out just once the winter hit.
Right.
Saying once things really started getting tough, saying dogs, yeah, that's whatever, because not everybody was getting bit. Rubber bullets, yeah, not everybody was getting shot, so you can stick through it. But once that cold hit, and you have a lack of supplies, of food and water, medical supplies, lack of support, shoot, all of us just dropped our swords and went home. Continue with our everyday lives.
Right.
Just hoping and praying that this pipeline, it wouldn't be what we said it would be. And that, not only is it in that, but it's in all things. Whether we're protesting for our people, which for a lot of us, we just sit there and riot and then it's over with. So we're supposed to keep this thing pushing.
Right.
You're saying justice for our people needs to be constantly pushing and pushing and pushing until we succeed.
Right.
Go ahead, Officer Concord.
It's funny you said that because after with the Floyd thing,
Mm-hmm.
it was all protesting. Soon July 4th came, they was grilling, celebrate the oppressor holiday.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So really, before then,
Right.
Saying as soon as we saw that there were, we had a good following of devils behind us that supposedly supported us.
Right.
That was supposedly sat there and spoke out and wanted better for our nation. Then we completely forgot about everything.
Right.
Saying my mom was sitting there wearing, all these different shirts, the Black Lives Matter shirts, and I Can't Breathe shirts inside the house. But once these protests died down and our people got soft and caved to our oppressor, just like they knew we would, shoot, I haven't seen them shirts since.
Right.
Saying And that was a minute ago. I don't even think she's got them still.
Right.
You understand? I mean, we can't just cave as a nation just because these devils claim to have some type of support for us. You understand? When my mom sat there and did that, you think I sat there and said, you know what? She's a good one. I should invite her to the school. I should make sure that my people love her and everyone that is like her. Because she supports us as a nation. Because she sits there and she makes it known that she's not for what is happening to the 12 tribes of Israel.
Right.
Now, I still recognize that's just something that's trending to them. I said, that's just another hashtag and some type of way that these people can feel better about themselves.
Right, right.
You understand? I mean, that's all it is. These people is for them to feel better about what it is that their ancestors have done and the lack of what it is that they've done to ensure that what's happening to us doesn't continue.
Right, right.
Get something else you want to add, Queen Boy?
Nah.
No sign of Christ. Let me get Proverbs 22 and 6.
Okay.
Proverbs 22 and 6.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go.
So in other words, teach, we should be teaching our children how it is that they should be conducting themselves as not only an individual, but as a nation. You see, and that's why it says train up a child in the way that they should go. But go ahead.
Come. And when he is old, he will not depart from it.
You see, so you sit there and you raise your child properly. You let them know how it is you carry yourself, how it is you should be, conversing and being around your brothers and sisters and around these different heathen nations, just how you should be as a whole. And when they get older, you understand, because of how it is that these ideals and philosophies are put into their heads, they're never going astray from them.
Right.
Just like for so many of us raised in America, we were taught, doing drugs really, it's not bad.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with being a murderer, with being a drug dealer, an addict, really a rapist. These things, that's the different type of things that America teaches us as a nation, because that's their whole history. And so their whole history is filled with nothing but wickedness.
Right.
So that's why so many of us can't sit there and turn our backs on America's disgusting ways, knowing damn well that it's doing nothing more than harming our nation.
Right.
You understand? But if us as a people, really, even as individuals, we sit there and we teach our children how to be morally sound and have some type of integrity about themselves, that's going to better the nation as a whole in the long run.
Right.
You see, and really the only way that it is that we can teach our nation individually or as a whole, as a community, as indigenous people, is, blacks, as Hispanics, whatever it is we want to call ourselves. The only way for us to to have them types of teachings is if we come into the ISUPK under Commanding GEN.YAHANNA.
Right.
So otherwise, we're just going to be following the same ways as our oppressor.
Right.
So with that said, go ahead and close out the class. I'm going to hand the class over to priest and officer of 50, normal bar. Put your hand on. No, you face this. You gotta read security announcements. Get on camera, G.
I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18 to 21. Malachi 3 and 8 to 10 means 10th in Hebrew. Mashariah, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Priest funds. Or give to the Treasury Department or teacher. Priest funds. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocation. And the Passover is still to be denounced.
And in September, I gotta find the exact date. We have memorial blowing of the trumpets.
In September, we have the memorial blowing of the trumpets.
Date next class.
Date next class. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, scarf. And with that, Amajim, which means to stand. With Pungwa Hakwadam, which means turn and face the east.
The Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanahu. Shabbat Shemayim. Qudash. Hayah. Shemka. Yahweh. Malakwika. Taba'ah. Batazayika. Hayah. Aisha. Ba'aratza. Kawa. Hayah. Bashemayim. Nathan. Lanawu. Lakam. Call. Yawam. Wasalakanawu. Kawawafanawu. Asalakanawu. Kawawafiyanawu. Wala'a. Dabayayanawu. Bonasaya 1. Abo. Awashayanawu. Mayan. Right. Kaya. The cup. Amalaku. Wa'ala. What the part. I will love you. Aman. The Lord's Prayer in English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. In earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our debts. As we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation. But deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom. And the power. And the glory. Forever. So be it. The prayer for the blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh. Wa Yahushua. Wa Yaka'ala. Wala'ayim. Matazab Yah. Alupap Yahanna. Ha Alupapia. Hazabanyam. Ha Quatazayanyam. Ha Kayayam. Waha Quatia. Yahweh. Bashim Yahusha. The water for the blessings in the English. Bless you, Yahweh.
Bless you, Yahweh.
And Yahusha.
And Yahusha.
And Michael.
And Michael.
And the angel.
And the angel.
Commanding General Yahweh.
Commanding General Yahweh.
The general.
The general.
The captain.
The captain.
The officer.
The officer.
The troopers.
The trooper.
And the sister.
And the sister.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahusha.
In the name of Yahusha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So be it.
So be it.
So, which means the turn. You want to go sleep? There you go sleep.
Cut salute to the brothers. Men of Israel. Mount Shabbat. Amazon. Barak.
Yahweh Shabbat shot like a thumb.
Yes, I'm a time. Cut salute to the sisters watching online. Men of Israel. Mount Shabbat. Amazon. Barak.
Yahweh Shabbat like a thumb by the Shabbat shot.
Yes, I'm a time. Class dismissed.
Let me know when you cut that feed.
No, no.